Hey everybody, and welcome to this high-level overview of Rayse, where we're going to be taking a look at how to get started, how to create your first journey, and how you're going to be able to show all of the value that you bring with every single one of your clients. So the first question is, how do we get in? So that's actually pretty simple. We're going to go over to rayse.com, R-A-Y-S-E, and you're going to see there's a login button in the top right. So you click on that, you click on Agent Login, and this is the hardest thing you'll have to do all day is remember your email address and password that you use for your MLS. So you can add in that MLS login email and then it'll ask you for your password. Then it will drop you into your dashboard. So here it is. This is what it looks like. Now you'll see I have a number of journeys in here. Now the first time that you log in, you won't see all these. You'll actually see a button in the middle that says create your first journey. But this is a quick tour of our dashboard here is we have our journeys over on the left-hand side. So when you click that, you'll be able to see all of your journeys. And you can see I have a few. And then we have profile and settings. This is where you're going to be able to set your branding because all of the things in here, whether it's the client portal or let's say this presentation, it's going to be branded for you. So it'll have your headshot, your colors, your logos, all of that good stuff in here. So this right here, profile and settings, is where we're going to set that up. And then here is presentations where you're going to be able to launch those buyer and seller presentations. So when we're on our way to our first meeting with our client, when we want to win that new client, we can use these interactive presentations, which we'll see in just a minute. Then, of course, there's our appointments, which this is great. We have the Rayse Assistant app. This is a mobile app that you can have on your phone, which is going to do a number of things. One of which is use the location services that are on your phone so that when you go on a tour with one of your clients or if you're out in the world, it'll track those locations. So if I go on a tour and let's say we visit 5 or 10 different places, you'll see all of those appointments in here. So I can see here are the addresses. Here's how long it took. Let's say we were in the car for 40 minutes. We were in the listing for 21. So there it is. So we can see all that. We'll go into this in a little bit more detail, but this is the way that you can use that mobile app in order to help create these activities. And then on top is Ray. This is your assistant inside of Rayse. So anytime we need to do anything with one of our journeys, we can use Ray. And again, we'll take a little bit closer look at that in just a minute. So the first thing that we have to do is create our first journey. So let's go ahead and do that here. You can see create new journey on the bottom, and you'll see existing clients and new clients. Now, existing is anybody that I've already put into Rayse, somebody that I've already worked with that I've created a journey for. So let's select new client, and I only need a couple things in here: their first name, last name, email address, and phone number, and then what was the journey start date. So I can't actually backdate this if I've been working with my client for a while, but let's say it was recently. Let's say I'm going to go and meet my client for the first time in 2 days. So we'll say we have February 26th. And then what type of journey is this? Is it a buy or a sell journey? And then we can select our template. So you may see Rayse default in here if this is your first time in, but you can create your own templates that has your own process in here. All right, so we're going to use Rachel Green. It's time for a new home. It's time to move out of the New York apartment. We're going to use this person as our client, and then we're going to create that journey. So now we've created Rachel's journey, and you can see we're starting fresh here. But before we jump into Rachel's journey, I want to show you what does it look like once this is a little bit more complete. What are your clients going to see? So let's go over to Steve's journey. This is Steve Perry. So we're on our journey with Steve. And you're going to see, here's the journey structure. So you're going to see the 4 steps across the top. So we have consultation, tours and offers, contract, and closing, because this is a buy-side journey. And then we have under each one of those steps are milestones. So I can see home requirements, client commitment contract. Those are important, right? And then under each one of those are the outcomes. Now, these are the value-driven work that we do for our clients. So as we go through those, these are what's going to get checked off. Now, what do our clients see? So here's how you can see what your client sees in their client portal. Is up on top, you're going to see there's these 5 buttons, and all of these are important, but we're going to take a look at client portal. So let's go ahead and select that, and you'll see this is what your client portal looks like, but not just a client portal. This is Steve's client portal. Now, it's been a little while since we've started working with him, but I can see all of these different things. So all of the homes that we're currently evaluating, ones that have offers on them, homes that we we've rejected, because most people can't remember past the last 2 homes, right? But let's say we've gone to see 11, 12 different homes, and I can see all of the outcomes, all the things that we've done for our clients, even in those homes that they've rejected. So all of that is in here, and I can see here is the journey itself. So those 33 activities, the 93 outcomes, and this will continue to grow as we get further into our journey. And those 4 steps that we just talked about: consultation, tours and offers, contract, and closing. So I can click into this, and here are those milestones that are in here. Now I can see financing options. That's not completed yet. We actually haven't checked any of those off. So let's get out of this client portal, because I do want to show you this. If you check all of these off, you're going to see that milestone close. There it is. So now this is completed. Let's go back into that client portal. And we're going to take a look at the journey here. So we can see here is consultation. We can click into that and we can see that that milestone is completed. It does update in real time. And I can even click into that and see all of those outcomes. So as we're going through this journey with our clients, we can check those off. They'll be able to follow along with everything that's happening, all of the work that you're doing, all the homes that we've gone to go see. So here we also have your contact card. So you can share this journey out with as many people as you like, your clients, their parents, their kids, anybody that wants to follow along with this journey with your clients. So I'm going to click on that contact card, and you're going to see here is your branding. So your big headshot, your contact info. Here's a little bit about your bio, your social profiles, even some reviews that are in here. So all those people that we've invited to this journey, we're now growing our sphere of influence, and they get to see all of your contact information right here. All right, so that is the client portal. So we've seen the structure of the journey. We've seen the client portal. Really quickly, let's just go ahead and take a look at a sell side journey here, because we saw the buy side. So here is the sell side. Now you'll see the same structure, the 4 steps, the milestones, and the outcomes that are in here. The difference is the journey. So here we have pre-listing, listing and marketing, contract, and closing. So all of that's in here for your clients. So whether they're buying a house or selling or both, all of that is in here for us to show our clients as we go through this journey. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to Rachel's journey. Now, you may want to star this, because once we start, you'll see that name show up down here. So when we're ready, we can just click on that and go into the journey. There it is. So we've got our journey here. Now, when I create a journey, one of the first things I'll want to do is send this to my client. So here's how we can do that, is that little paper airplane up there, invite a client. So you can click on that, and then we can send that invitation. Now, we don't send anything to your client when you create the journey. We do actually have to send that invitation. So we'll click send invite, and away it goes, and they can log into their own client portal like you just saw. All right, so here is the journey itself. Now, we can go in and we can check these outcomes off, but there is actually a much easier way to do this. So we have Ray, your assistant, in here. So we could click on your assistant, Ray. That is the home of Ray. We can do that. Or we can click on up here. It says chat with Ray about this journey. And you'll see the journey is already in here. So here is Rachel's journey. So let's start out simple. Let's say we had a call with Rachel Green where we discussed financing options, and they said that they're pre-approved for $650,000. So we're going to send that up to Ray. And when it's ready, it'll show you the activities and the outcomes in here. So we're at the activity. It's that phone call that we just had with our clients. It does default to 60 minutes, but you can change that to whatever you'd like, even if you want to type it into the top here. And then the proposed outcomes. Well, what did we actually talk about here? So financing and mortgage, the pre-approval process, and the pre-approval amount confirmed. So all I have to do is select save. And then it'll save all of that in the journey here. So if I go back to Rachel's journey, I can see those things have been checked off. Here they are. Those 3 outcomes have been checked off. And then under activities, here is our phone call. There it is. So next we're going to talk about what happens if we're out in the world with our clients and we're doing some work with them. So we're going to take a look at the Rayse Assistant app. So when you go to the App Store and you download the Rayse Assistant app, this is what it's going to look like once you log in. So you'll have up top your appointments here. So any of those things where we go out into the world with our clients. So I can click into these and start assigning these to journeys. So if I go, let's say this was with my client, I can click on that. You'll see here is Rachel. That's that first one that we created. So I can assign this to that journey, and it's going to show up inside of Rachel's journey. So all I have to do is when I go out into the world with her and I create this appointment, it'll have what the address is, how long we were in the car, how long the appointment was. All of that will be in here. So I can click next. And if I say, yes, this was a showing, I'm going to ask for feedback. So did they like it or no? So let's say, yeah, they did like it. And what else did we do? Here are those outcomes from the journey. So we can select home tour scheduled, home tour attended. There it is. Gather data on the home. We got additional insights from the home discussed. We contacted the listing agent. So all of those things, those 7, 8 things that we do every time we go and see a home, they're all going to be in here. So we can check those off, select next, and it's now going to assign that into the journey. It's that simple. So now I just went and spent the entire day with my client. It took me a few seconds and the entire day was logged. Now, what you also have in here is Ray. So let's say we're going out with our client. We go to a meeting with them and there's a few things that we talked about. So in my app, let's say on the way from the coffee shop to my car, I'm just going to talk into the phone. So I'm going to click on Ray in the bottom right-hand corner here. I'm going to select the journey, which again, that's Rachel right up here. And let's say what we did is we went to coffee. So went to coffee with my client for an hour about setting up the search on the MLS, and notifications were set for new homes that qualify. And you'll see Ray created the activities and the outcomes. So here is that activity, the meeting with my client. It took 60 minutes or however long we took. It is a meeting and here is the date. We also have those outcomes that are in here. Now, there are times when we'll forget something. So we can do the, oh, and I forgot. So let's say, oh, and I forgot, I got the client commitment contract signed as well. So let me paste that in here as well. And you'll see it added an extra outcome in here. So we got that client commitment contract signed. So there it is, executed signatures. So once I select save, that's now going to get pushed into the journey. So there it is, all of those things that we did with our clients. So it's that simple to work this journey with my clients. All I have to do is dictate into Ray what it is that we did, and it'll automatically log all of those things inside of your journey. It does update the client portal in real time, so your clients will get to follow along with all of those things. All right, back in Rachel's journey, and we can see all of the things that we talked about with Ray are in here. They're checked off. We even have those activities that we talked about, the 2 coffee meeting and the meeting that we assigned to this journey. Okay, so next we're going to talk about how to get listings into your journeys here. So in that second step, this is where we can see those tours and offers. Here's where those homes would be. Now there's 2 ways that we can get a home in here. We can click add a home, and then you can just type in the address. And since this is connected to your MLS, you'll see it'll pull all of the information, all of the photos, any of that good stuff in here, and we select save. And that's now going to be in your journey where we can start to check off all of these outcomes. The other way is to assign one of those appointments to a journey. So under appointments, when you assign that to a journey, either here or in the app, it will then add that home into your list here. So now let's do a prompt back in the app. Let's say you just finished meeting with your client, and we're going to do a really simple prompt. So let's go over to Ray. We're going to select our journey here, and then we're going to have a really simple prompt. So we added in our listing just now, and what we're saying is, took my buyers to see Highland this morning. That's it. And Ray will know to add the activity and the outcomes in here. So here is our showing, and here's the outcome. The home tour was attended. So now we can select save, and that's going to get pushed into that journey. It's really that simple. So let's do one more prompt in here, and that is, let's imagine that we haven't logged anything all day, but we spent the day working with our clients here. So there's a few things that we have to add in. So this is that daily dump of all the things we did. So let's go over to Ray. We'll dictate in. All we're doing is talking to our phone, and all we have to do is tell Ray what it is that we did. So we'll say, oh, what a day. This morning had a call with the title company about closing costs and then showed Highland. They absolutely loved the kitchen and want to move fast. After lunch, we spent like 2 hours pulling comps for Highland. Since they're serious, also had to arrive 35 minutes early to Highland to prep the listing for my client since the listing agent was out of town. Okay, so there's a few things that are in there. And we can see the 4 activities that are in here and the 2 outcomes that were proposed. The home tour that was attended and the client feedback. And if there are any notes, it did log that, loved the kitchen, and the feedback, they did like the home. So that's in here. So all of the things that I did with my client today, I just dictated them all out in one prompt here for Ray. So now we're going to select select save, and all of those things are now going to be logged in the journey. And that's it. That's as simple as it is. So logging those activities when we work with our clients, when we're out in the world with them, if we do an entire day's worth of work, we can log them in just a few seconds. So we've seen how to work the journey, and we've used Ray as our assistant throughout this journey. So let's imagine that we got to the end of that journey. So let's go back to Rachel's journey here. And let's say we got through all 4 steps, all of the milestones, outcomes, everything that we've done for our client, and we're ready to close. This is what it looks like. We're going to close this journey. It's going to say, "Are you sure?" And when we close this journey, this is what you're going to get, is this closing report. So you have your brokerage logo, your agent headshot that's in here, the listing photo. And what we're going to use this for is storytelling. We're telling the story of the journey with our clients. This is the wedding album. This is our story together. So look what we've done. We have that great summary page that's in here. So let's say it took 60 days. There was 30 homes that were toured. We negotiated $6,500 in credits that got negotiated. There was 196 outcomes that were in here. And then we're telling the story, right? So how long did it take to get into contract? How long did it take to get into closing to your new home? And it's going to show you everything that's in here. So all of those things that we do for our clients, they're all important. So we have our step up here. Here's the milestone. And then what did we do? Well, we reviewed the buyer presentation. We talked about Rayse. We got their home and neighborhood requirements. And then we got the client commitment contract signed, right? That's important. Those are things that we did. We got the financing options and even those homes that we went to go tour, some that we considered, some that we rejected. All of those are in here so we can show them what happened all the way down to that home that we accepted. So now we're in contract and all of those things that you do for our clients that they normally don't get to see. All of that's going to be in here. They get to see the full value, all of the expertise that you're going to be providing them. So this is a 26-page report. There's only 4 listings that are in here. Imagine if you had 12 or 15 or 20 listings that were in here. Your client will be able to use this to see all of those things that happened throughout the journey. Now, one thing you'll notice that's not in here is any client information. So what some agents are doing is they're taking this closing report and they're taking it to their next buyer or listing presentation. And they'll go to their client and say, "Hey, do you want to see everything that's going to happen? Here's everything I did for the last person. This is what you can expect when you work with me," and show them the entire value of everything that you're going to do throughout the course of that journey. All right, so that's the closing report. So there's one more thing we're going to show you, and that is the presentation. And so Rayse has these great interactive presentations when we're going to meet with our client. We want to win that new client. So we have our buyer and seller presentations in here. And what we're going to do is we can select somebody's name, and it'll pull all this information. You only ever have to enter this once. So what is my last success story that's in here? Meaning, what was the property type, how many bedrooms and bathrooms and tours and all of those things that we did. What do the market averages look like? So what does normal look like? We want to set some expectations with our clients, and then your professional value. Remember, we want to make you look like a rock star. So when we fill all this out, we're going to launch that presentation, and it's going to be branded for you. So remember, all of this is you, and it does go in this big wheel where we get to tell the story. This is what it's going to be like when we work together. So here's everything that you can expect, from my value explained to what's going to happen when we start working together all the way through close. So we can click into this. It does have 3 different levels in here. So finding the home's only 5% of the process. I'm going to help you navigate 100% of it. And we can click into this and tell that story. So what are 3 things that you should never do without an expert? Jump out of an airplane, get brain surgery, and buy a home. Why? Because buying representation is so important, and because you can't return a home. Now, Rachel, we don't know what we don't know. Meaning, for a lot of our clients, if this is their first time they're buying a house, or if they haven't been in the market in 10, 15 years, they're going to have a lot of questions that you can answer. So who's doing the inspection? How old is that roof? Do you know good marble versus fake marble? Do you know what a termite looks like? My favorite is that even legal? So all of that's in here. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm going to be doing for you. We're going to simplify the process. I'm going to give you market insights. I work transparently, so transparently, in fact, that here is my last success story. So the last person that I worked with. Now, we also have the craziest thing I ever experienced. This is a bit of a silly prompt, but it's also very important. So all of those things that you've heard of or that you've experienced over the years in real estate, this is where we get to tell our client, look, things like this happen in every transaction. In every journey that we go on, things are going to happen. And you know what? That's okay. We're going to get through it together. So that's where we get to send the invitation to our clients, or we can continue to talk about the process. So there are 6 different cards that are inside of this presentation. So you can go through and tell that entire story from beginning to end. All right. Thank you for being here. This is a high-level overview of Rayse. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, thank you for being here, and we'll see you soon.